The night I found the message, I swear I could hear my heart pounding louder than the ticking clock on the wall. My husband's phone buzzed once, just once, and curiosity led me to a truth I can never unsee. One line of text lit up his screen, and in that moment, everything I thought I knew about my marriage began to crumble. It was a Tuesday night. I remember because Tuesday was leftover night in our house. For years, that had been our quiet little routine, scraping together whatever remained from Sunday and Monday, putting mismatched dishes on the table, and calling it dinner. There was nothing glamorous about it, but it was ours. That night, we had a strange combination of roast chicken, reheated pasta, and a bowl of salad that looked like it was one day away from wilting. I stood at the sink rinsing plates while Caleb, my husband, lounged on the couch. His legs were stretched out, one hand resting lazily on his stomach, the other scrolling through his phone. Our 8-year-old daughter, Emma, was sitting cross-legged on the carpet, focused with absolute determination on her Lego creation. She was building a house, piece by piece, whispering little stories to herself as the walls went up. The TV was on but muted, some home renovation show flickering across the screen. I caught glimpses of smiling couples picking backsplash tiles while a narrator gushed about dream kitchens. The irony wasn't lost on me. We weren't exactly living in a dream of our own. We were just existing. That ordinariness was almost comforting. After 10 years together, our life had settled into predictable grooves. Tuesdays meant leftovers. Saturdays meant soccer practice. Sunday mornings meant grocery lists. And while it wasn't thrilling, I thought it was safe. I thought it was solid, until his phone buzzed. Caleb had set it down on the armrest when Emma called him over to help with her Lego roof. "Daddy, it won't stay," she whined. He chuckled, set his phone aside, and went over to her, crouching on the carpet to snap the pieces together. That's when I saw it. The screen lit up, casting a glow across the couch fabric. I wasn't snooping. Not really. When you've shared a life with someone for over a decade, you know their patterns. Caleb rarely got texts after 8 p.m. Most of his friends knew we were early sleepers, and his work messages usually ended after office hours. The preview line was short. Just one message. "I can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again?" My hands went cold instantly. The dish towel slipped from my grip, falling onto the wet counter with a soft slap. For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My eyes locked onto those words like they were written in fire. 1,000 thoughts collided at once. Maybe it was spam. Maybe it was a wrong number. Maybe it was some twisted joke. But beneath every rational excuse, my gut twisted with a certainty I didn't want to acknowledge. I knew. Before I even picked up his phone, before I even considered unlocking it, I knew. The foundation of my marriage had just shifted beneath me. It was like standing on a pane of glass and hearing it crack. At first, the fissure is so small you think it might hold. But you know, deep in your bones, that it's only a matter of time before it spreads. I looked over at Caleb, laughing as Emma proudly pressed the roof onto her Lego house. They looked so ordinary, so innocent in that moment. My husband and my daughter, side by side on the living room carpet, unaware that my world had just tilted on its axis. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it over the muted TV, over Emma's chatter, over everything. I forced myself to keep moving, rinsing the plate in my hand so no one would notice the way my body had frozen. But inside, I was unraveling. That single text was a crack in the glass, tiny, but spreading fast, and I had no idea just how much of my life was about to shatter. To understand why that text destroyed me, you'd have to know what my marriage looked like before it. On the outside, Caleb and I were what people called solid. The kind of couple neighbors nodded at approvingly, the kind other parents envied at PTA meetings because we looked like we had it all figured out. Smiles at barbecues, coordinated family photos at Christmas, the illusion of stability. But illusions are funny things. They shimmer so brightly in the sunlight that you don't notice the cracks in the glass until you're standing close enough to touch them. Caleb and I met in college, sophomore year, at the University of Illinois. He was the funny, charming guy who could make an entire cafeteria laugh with a single joke. He had this effortless way of drawing people in, professors, classmates, even the grumpy janitor who patrolled our dorm hallway. Everyone liked Caleb. I was the quieter one. The girl who sat near the front of class, color-coded her notes, and blushed when someone tried to put me in the spotlight. My friends teased me about being the serious type. I never thought someone like Caleb would notice someone like me, but he did. It started with a study group for our American Lit class. He was loud, distracting, cracking jokes while the rest of us tried to analyze the scarlet letter. At one point, I told him, half annoyed, half amused, to at least try to act like you read the book. Instead of taking offense, he grinned and said, "Maybe I just need the right tutor." That became our thing. Study sessions that turned into coffee dates. Coffee dates that turned into late-night walks across campus, where we talked about everything. Our childhoods, our fears, our dreams. He teased me out of my shell, and I steadied him when his impulsive side got too wild. By senior year, we were inseparable. We got married at 25, just 2 years after graduation. The wedding wasn't extravagant. A small church, borrowed decorations, my mom's friend baking the cake. Caleb's suit was rented, my dress was secondhand, but none of that mattered. What mattered was that we were beginning something together. Money was tight in those days. Caleb worked at a car dealership, grinding out long hours for mediocre pay. I taught middle school English, surviving on lesson plans and caffeine. Our apartment was a one-bedroom with paint peeling in the bathroom and neighbors who fought so loudly it felt like we were unwilling extras in their drama, and yet, we were happy. Genuinely happy. We didn't have much, but we had each other. We'd fall asleep on our thrift store mattress, tangled together, whispering about the future. A house someday. Kids. Maybe a dog. We believed those things were within reach if we just kept pushing forward. There were nights we'd share ramen because payday was still 3 days away. We laughed about it, pretending it was part of the adventure. When the heater broke one January, we bundled under blankets, drinking hot chocolate from mismatched mugs, convincing ourselves it was romantic. And in those moments, it was that fast forward 12 years, and life looked comfortable. We had upgraded from that cramped apartment to a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs outside Chicago. It wasn't fancy, just beige siding, a patchy lawn, and a leaky faucet I kept nagging Caleb to fix. But it was hours that I had switched from middle school to high school teaching, trading sullen 7th graders for moody teenagers. Caleb had climbed the ladder to sales manager at his dealership, pulling in a decent salary. We weren't wealthy, but we managed. The mortgage, car payments, Emma's school supplies, and family vacations when we could afford them. Wisconsin Dells most years. Florida once. When we stretched the budget farther than we should have, Emma was the center of our world. A bright, curious girl with Caleb's sense of humor and my stubborn streak. She gave our lives purpose and structure, the kind of structure you cling to when you're tired adults just trying to keep it all together. Our routines became predictable. I'd wake up at 5:30 to grade papers before school. Caleb would leave the house with his travel mug of coffee, often forgetting his lunch on the counter. Evenings were a blur of dinner prep, dishes, Emma's homework, bedtime routines. By the time all that was done, we were both too exhausted to do much more than collapse on opposite ends of the couch. We talked, yes, but mostly about logistics. Did you pay the gas bill? Emma's field trip money is due Friday. Don't forget trash pickup. Our conversations felt more like the minutes of a board meeting than the beating heart of a marriage. Romance slipped away quietly. At first, we didn't notice. Life was busy, after all. But gradually, intimacy became something we scheduled. Anniversaries, birthdays, the occasional date night, when we found a babysitter. Even then, it felt forced. Like we were actors playing the roles of husband and wife, going through the motions because that's what married people were supposed to do. It wasn't that I stopped loving Caleb. I still admired his humor, his charm, the way he could light up a room. But somewhere between daycare drop-offs and mortgage payments, we lost us. And yet, I never once believed he was unhappy enough to look elsewhere. Caleb was attentive in public. He'd hold my hand at Emma's school events, wrap an arm around my shoulder when we walked through the neighborhood, kiss my forehead if neighbors were within sight. He played the role of the good husband well, and maybe I wanted so badly to believe it that I ignored the little signs, like how he started working late more often. Or how he took his phone into the bathroom, even during showers, steam curling around the cracked door frame while he scrolled for 20 minutes. I noticed, of course. But I told myself I was being paranoid. He was stressed. He needed downtime. Everyone deserved privacy. I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe that our marriage wasn't fragile glass already spidering with cracks. If I'm honest, I think part of me knew something was off long before that message appeared. But denial is a powerful thing. It lets you rewrite reality, tuck away the things you don't want to face, because what if I dug deeper and found something I couldn't unfind? What if the man I'd built my life with wasn't the man I thought he was? What if my whole future, the one we whispered about on that thrift store mattress years ago, was a lie? So I brushed off the doubts. I focused on Emma, on work, on the endless cycle of laundry and lesson plans and grocery lists. It was easier to stay busy than to let myself wonder why Caleb seemed more distant, why he smiled at his phone more than he smiled at me. Looking back now, it's clear. That text didn't come out of nowhere. It was the culmination of months, maybe years, of cracks spreading beneath the surface of our marriage. Signs I ignored, questions I never asked, walls we built without realizing it. That single line on his phone was just the moment the glass finally shattered, and once it did, there was no going back. When Caleb came back to the couch after helping Emma, I couldn't even look at him. My mind was racing. The phone sat there, glowing with that message, daring me to pick it up. I swiped the screen open with shaking fingers. His passcode hadn't changed. That detail almost made me laugh, like he hadn't even bothered to hide the door to his secret life. The text was from someone named Alyssa. Not saved under a fake name, not hidden in a work contact. Just Alyssa. The thread stretched back months. Flirty banter, late-night confessions, plans to meet up. Some messages left little to the imagination. Photos, too. Explicit ones. My stomach churned. My chest felt heavy, like a weight pressing down. Every word I read was another stab. I miss your touch. Last night was amazing. I wish she didn't keep you so busy. That was me. I locked the phone and put it down before Caleb noticed. Emma was still chattering about her Lego creation, blissfully unaware that her family's world was collapsing that night. I didn't confront him. I lay in bed next to him, pretending to sleep, while my mind replayed every conversation, every moment, every time he told me he was working late. I felt trapped between rage and devastation. The next morning, I couldn't hold it in. Over breakfast, I asked casually, "Who's Alyssa?" He froze mid-bite of his toast. Just a split second, but enough. Then he shrugged. "She's one of the new sales representatives. Why?" My throat tightened. I wanted to scream, to throw his phone in his face and demand the truth. Instead, I whispered, "Because she texted you last night." His eyes narrowed. "You went through my phone." The audacity of that, his anger at me for discovering his betrayal, snapped something inside me. "Don't turn this on me, Caleb. I saw the messages. I know what's going on." Emma walked in then, asking for more milk. The conversation died right there, swallowed by the morning rush of packing lunches and finding backpacks. But the silence between us was deafening. That evening, once Emma was asleep, I stood in the doorway while he changed into pajamas. My voice shook. "How long has it been going on?" He didn't look at me. "You're overreacting." Overreacting. My chest burned. I saw the messages. The pictures. "Don't you dare pretend it's nothing." He sighed, like my pain was an inconvenience. "Things haven't been great between us for a while. You're always tired, always stressed. Alyssa, she makes me feel alive again." Alive. The word cut like glass. As if I had been the one sucking the life out of him. As if the years of holding our family together had drained him. I walked into the bathroom, shut the door, and slid down against the cold tile. My sobs shook so hard I had to press a towel over my mouth to keep from waking Emma. Over the next week, I moved through life in a daze. My body went through the motions, packing lunches, grading papers, answering emails, but my mind was elsewhere. We only spoke when necessary, our words clipped and sharp. At night, I cried silently into my pillow, wondering if my marriage had always been a lie. I thought about leaving. About packing Emma and myself into the car and driving to my sister's 2 hours away. But then reality hit. The mortgage, the bills, Emma's school, my job. Leaving wasn't simple. Meanwhile, Caleb carried on like nothing was wrong. He still kissed Emma goodnight, still joked with the neighbors, still left for late meetings. And every time he walked out that door, I imagined him with her. Alyssa, the woman who had stolen the pieces of my husband I thought were mine alone. It wasn't just the affair. It was what it did to me. I started checking his phone whenever I could. Scrolling through messages, call logs, even his email. Sometimes I'd find new exchanges. Can't wait to see you. Wish I could stay longer, and my chest would cave in all over again. Other times, there'd be nothing, and I'd wonder if he deleted the evidence. Every ping, every buzz of his phone made my heart race. I became hyper-aware of his absences. If he was 10 minutes late, I pictured them together. If he showered at odd hours, I imagined his scent on him. The paranoia ate me alive. I hated who I was becoming, a detective in my own home, desperate for proof of what I already knew. And then there was Emma. Sweet, innocent Emma. Caught in the crossfire of a war she didn't even know was being fought. One night, she padded into our room after a nightmare. Caleb was snoring beside me, and I pulled her into bed. She curled up against me and whispered, "Mommy, why do you and Daddy fight so much?" My throat closed. "We're just having grown-up problems, sweetheart. Nothing you need to worry about." But she looked at me with those big, searching eyes, the same eyes Caleb had when he was younger, and I knew she sensed more than I wanted to admit. She was only 8, but she wasn't blind. She noticed the silences, the slammed doors, the way I cried when I thought no one was watching. And I hated Caleb for putting her through this, for making her question the safety of her family. The hardest part was pretending. At school, I smiled at my students, graded essays, and led discussions on Romeo and Juliet while inside I was breaking apart. At Emma's soccer games, I clapped and cheered while Caleb sat beside me, the picture of a devoted dad, and I wanted to scream that it was all a lie. I couldn't tell anyone. Not my mom, who adored Caleb. Not my sister, who would immediately tell me to leave him. Not my colleagues, who would whisper behind my back. So I carried it alone. Caleb never apologized. Not really. He admitted it happened, insisted it didn't mean much, and promised he'd figure things out. But he never said sorry, never begged for forgiveness. And maybe that hurt most of all, that he didn't think I was worth fighting for. So we lived in a strange limbo. Him, drifting further into his secret world. Me, clinging to the scraps of stability for Emma's sake. At night, I lay awake listening to the sound of his steady breathing, wondering how he could sleep so easily while my world was burning. One Saturday afternoon, Emma had a friend over. The girls were playing in the backyard while I folded laundry in the living room. Caleb's phone buzzed on the coffee table. He wasn't even in the house. He'd gone to run errands. I stared at the glowing screen. Another message from Alyssa. I couldn't resist. I picked it up and read, "Wish you were here. Last night still on my mind. Can't wait until next weekend." My vision blurred. Next weekend. He was planning again. Even after being caught. Even after I begged for honesty. When he came home, I confronted him. My hands shook, my voice cracked, but I stood my ground. "She's still in your life. Don't lie to me, Caleb." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I can't just cut her off overnight. It's complicated." Complicated. I laughed bitterly. "No, Caleb. Marriage is complicated. Bills and kids and late nights are complicated. Sleeping with someone else is not complicated. It's a choice." He said nothing. And in that silence, I realized just how far gone he already was. The text from Alyssa hadn't just cracked the glass of my marriage. It had shattered it, leaving me to pick up the shards with bare hands. And every piece cut deeper, drawing blood I wasn't sure I had left to give. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. It was a Saturday morning, one of those rare days when I didn't have grading piled up and Emma didn't have soccer. The sun was shining, the kind of spring day that begged for picnics and laughter. Caleb claimed he had to go into the office for inventory. He said it so casually over his coffee that morning, kissing Emma on the forehead as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Something in his tone made my stomach knot. Inventory. On a Saturday. He hadn't mentioned it earlier in the week. I tried to ignore the nagging suspicion, but it clung to me. Emma, sweet and unsuspecting, piped up after breakfast. "Let's surprise Daddy with lunch. We can bring sandwiches." Her enthusiasm was contagious. I smiled, more for her sake than mine. "That sounds like a great idea." We packed a cooler, turkey sandwiches, apple slices, juice boxes, and drove over. Emma chatted happily in the back seat, telling me how she wanted to give Daddy the cookie she had saved. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, trying to silence the unease building inside me. When we pulled into the dealership lot, my heart dropped. Caleb's car wasn't there, and I told myself maybe he parked in the back. Maybe he took a company car. Maybe anything. But the pit in my stomach knew better. That I dialed his phone. No answer. Again. Straight to voicemail. Something inside me snapped. My pulse raced. My hands trembled. I pulled out of the lot and started driving, aimless at first, then sharper, as if my body knew where my mind refused to admit he would be. That's when I saw it. His car. Parked outside a cheap motel on the edge of town. Emma was still in the back seat, swinging her legs and humming a tune. Oblivious. My chest ached. I couldn't bring her into this. She deserved none of it. I forced a smile into the rearview mirror. Hey, sweetie, I just remembered. I need to run an errand. How about we stop at Grandma's for a little while? Her eyes lit up. Yay! Grandma's cookies. I swallowed hard, drove her to my mom's, muttered something vague about needing to shop, and kissed her forehead before leaving. She skipped inside without a care in the world. As soon as I got back in the car, the mask slipped. My hands shook violently on the wheel as I drove back to the motel. I parked across the street, staring at the ugly neon sign flickering vacancy. Each blink felt like a countdown to the implosion of my life. Minutes dragged into what felt like hours. My chest was tight, my throat raw from silent sobs. I wanted to storm in, rip open the door, and expose them. But I also wanted to curl into a ball and disappear. Finally, the door opened, Caleb walked out, and beside him was Alyssa. She was young, late 20s, maybe. Blonde hair that gleamed in the sun, jeans clinging to her like a second skin, laughing at something he said. He reached out, touching her back as they walked to his car. That small, intimate gesture. The same one he used on me years ago when we were dating. The same gesture that used to make me feel safe, chosen, adored. Now it made me sick. I snapped a photo with my phone. Proof. Not that I needed it. The image was burned into me forever. But part of me wanted something tangible, undeniable. I drove away before they saw me. My hands were numb, my vision blurred. I don't even remember the drive home that night. I couldn't hold it in any longer. We put Emma to bed. I sat at the kitchen table, the motel picture open on my phone. My heart pounded as I waited for him to walk in. When he finally did, he smelled faintly of cologne, not the one he usually wore. He looked startled to see me sitting there. Hey, he said cautiously, setting his keys down. Don't hate me. My voice cracked. Where were you today? He blinked. I told you. Inventory. I slammed my phone on the table, the photo glaring up at him. Stop lying to me, Caleb. His face went pale. For a split second, he looked like a trapped animal. Then he straightened, defensive. You followed me. The hypocrisy made my blood boil. Don't you dare turn this on me. I saw you. I saw her. The motel. The lies. All of it. The words spilled out in a torrent. Every text. Every late night. Every excuse. My voice shook with rage and grief. At first, he denied. It wasn't what it looked like. Then he minimized. It didn't mean anything. Then he shifted blame. You've been so distant. You're always tired, always focused on Emma or your job. I needed something. Something. I spat the word like poison. You mean someone. While I was home raising our daughter, keeping this family together, you were out with her. Tears blurred my vision. Do you have any idea what you've done to me? To us. He rubbed his face, exasperated. It was just physical. That's all. I love you, not her. I laughed bitterly. You don't touch someone like that if it's just physical. You don't sneak around for months if it's just physical. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. For the first time in our marriage, I said the words out loud. I don't think I can do this anymore. The look on his face was a mix of fear and rage. He slammed his hand against the counter, making me flinch. Don't say that. Don't you dare throw away 12 years over one mistake. One mistake. My voice broke. Caleb, it wasn't one mistake. It was months. It was lies. It was choosing her over me, over Emma, every single time you walked out that door. He paced the kitchen like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair. I'll end it. I promise. I'll cut her off. Just, please, don't leave me. For the first time, he looked desperate. His bravado cracked, revealing panic underneath, but I couldn't shake the image of him touching Alyssa's back, the ease of his laugh with her, the way he had once laughed with me. I whispered, I don't know if I can ever trust you again. That night, I couldn't bear to lie beside him. I grabbed a blanket and slept on the couch, staring at the ceiling, my body trembling with exhaustion. I couldn't escape that I thought about the girl I used to be, the college student who believed Caleb's smile could light up a room, who believed we were forever. I thought about the young wife who moved into a one-bedroom apartment with nothing but hammer-down furniture and big dreams, and then I thought about the woman I had become, sitting alone on a couch, shattered, wondering how the life I'd built had unraveled so completely. The motel changed everything. The texts had cracked the glass, but seeing him with her, alive, carefree, giving away the tenderness that used to be mine, that shattered it into pieces I wasn't sure could ever be put back together, and for the first time, I wasn't just angry. I was done pretending. It's been 6 months since that night, and I still remember every second of it. It feels both like it happened yesterday and like it belongs to another lifetime entirely. That's what betrayal does. It splits your life into 2 timelines, the before and the after. And once you've crossed into the after, there's no going back. Caleb and I are separated now. The papers aren't finalized yet, but the decision has been made, and it feels irreversible. He moved into an apartment across town, a simple 2-bedroom place that's close enough to Emma's school so he can still take her on his weeks. We split custody evenly, alternating weeks. It was the fairest arrangement we could come up with, though fair doesn't necessarily mean easy for Emma. The change has been the hardest. She's only 6, too young to fully grasp the weight of what's happened, but old enough to feel the shift in her little world. Some nights when she's with me, she cries into her pillow, asking me why Daddy can't live with us anymore. Each time, I feel my heart tear open again. I hold her close and tell her what I know to be true, that Daddy and I both love her more than anything in this world. That will never change. I tell her this even when my own voice shakes, even when my heart wants to scream about the lies and the choices he made. She doesn't need to carry that burden. Not now, maybe not ever, but when she looks up at me with her tear-stained face and asks if we'll ever be a family again, I have to swallow back my own tears and find the courage to be honest. I tell her that while Daddy and I won't live together anymore, we are still her family. That family doesn't end just because things change. It just looks different now. I don't know if she believes me, or if I even fully believe it myself, but I hope, in time, it will make sense to her. In the middle of all this, I started therapy. Honestly, it was something I should have done years ago. For too long, I carried around hurt and doubt without ever facing it. I had convinced myself that if I just worked harder, if I just loved better, if I just gave more, then maybe Caleb would meet me in the middle. But therapy has taught me something I desperately needed to learn. I wasn't responsible for his betrayal. I wasn't perfect. No one is, but I didn't deserve what he did. That realization was both devastating and liberating. Devastating because it forced me to see how long I had been trying to fix something that was never mine to fix. Liberating because, for the first time in years, I feel the heavy weight of blame lifting from my shoulders, and slowly, in the quiet spaces of my life, I've been rediscovering the parts of myself I had lost. Little things at first. I picked up a book one night after Emma went to bed, and before I knew it, I had read until the early hours of the morning, something I hadn't done in years. I started painting again, messy, colorful strokes on canvas that don't mean anything to anyone else but feel like therapy to me. I've even gone out with friends without constantly checking the clock, without worrying if Caleb was annoyed that I wasn't home yet. It's strange to say, but I feel like I'm meeting myself for the first time in a long time. The version of me that existed before the betrayal was strong in some ways, but she was also scared, constantly second-guessing her worth. This version of me is raw and still healing, but she's braver. She knows she deserves more. That doesn't mean the pain is gone. Some mornings, I still wake up and feel the emptiness beside me like a physical ache. There are nights when I dream about Caleb, and for a split second after waking, I forget that everything has changed. Those are the hardest mornings, the ones where reality comes crashing back, reminding me of what was lost. But alongside the pain, there is also something else. Hope. A fragile, flickering kind of hope that tells me this isn't the end of my story. That maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of something better. I cling to that hope, especially when I think about Emma. I want her to grow up seeing her mother as someone who chose dignity over deceit. I want her to learn that love is only real when it comes with honesty, respect, and trust. I want her to know that even when life breaks you, you can still find the courage to rebuild. The message on his phone shattered my marriage, but in a strange way, it also freed me. It forced me to stop living in denial, to stop clinging to a version of love that wasn't real. It made me face the truth I had been too afraid to admit, that love without honesty isn't love at all. Sometimes, I think about that night when I first saw the message. If I hadn't picked up his phone, would I still be living in the dark, convincing myself that everything was fine? Maybe. But I'm glad I know the truth, even if it broke me. Because now, I get to build something real for myself and for Emma. That I don't know what the future holds. Maybe one day I'll fall in love again. Maybe I won't. For now, I'm learning to be okay with being on my own. I'm learning that my worth doesn't come from someone else's love, it comes from within me, and that's the lesson I want to leave with anyone listening. Don't ignore the signs. Don't silence the voice in your gut. Don't let fear keep you trapped in a relationship where respect and trust are missing. You deserve more. We all do. If you're listening to this and you're where I was, feeling stuck, feeling like leaving is impossible, I want you to know something. You are stronger than you think. The world doesn't end when a relationship does. In some ways, it's the beginning of a new one, the relationship you build with yourself. I know it's terrifying. I know it feels like stepping off a cliff with no safety net. But on the other side of that fear, there is freedom. Freedom to breathe, freedom to heal, freedom to rediscover who you are. And that freedom is worth every tear, every sleepless night, every painful step forward. So to anyone who needs to hear it, don't settle. Don't let anyone convince you that betrayal, lies, or disrespect are just part of love. Real love doesn't ask you to shrink yourself. Real love doesn't make you question your worth. Real love is honest, and kind, and safe. Anything less is not enough. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, please like and subscribe for more real life stories. I have so many more to share. Stories of love, loss, resilience, and the strength it takes to start over. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if this story meant something to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Share your own experiences, your struggles, your victories, the lessons you've learned. We're all human, and sometimes hearing someone else's journey can remind us that we're not alone in ours. Have you ever felt stuck in a relationship where leaving felt impossible? What gave you the strength to finally choose yourself? Share your thoughts and experiences below. I would love to hear them, because at the end of the day, our stories may be different, but our hearts carry the same hopes: to be loved, to be seen, and to be treated with the respect we all deserve.